You are not emotionally weak. You are emotionally untrained. And anything untrained is dangerous. Your anger is not your personality. Your anxiety is not your identity. Your overthinking is not just how you are. Emotional control is a skill, and skills can be built or ignored. If you ignore this, your emotions will keep controlling your decisions, your relationships, and your future. They will keep dragging you into the same pain, the same patterns, the same mistakes. But if you train it, you become untouchable, calm, focused, silent, unshakable from the inside. This audiobook will make you dangerous, not to others, but to chaos. Dangerous to confusion, to emotional impulses, to the noise inside your mind. And listen carefully. If you stay with this audiobook till the end, you will learn exactly how to master your reactions, stabilize your mind, and finally take control of your inner world. So don't skip, don't rush, just stay with me, because what you are about to learn can change your entire mindset. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop blaming your feelings. They are your responsibility. You have been lied to. Not by the world, not by people, by yourself. You said, "That's just how I feel." And every time you said it, you gave away control. Your feelings are not facts. Your emotions are not orders. They are signals. And signals exist to be read, not obeyed. That's the key. You have a choice. Most people live like emotional slaves. They wake up and let their mood decide their behavior. They let irritation decide their tone. They let sadness decide their productivity. They let anger decide their words. And then they wonder why their lives feel out of control. You don't need their permission to change. You don't need your own past permission either. You have a choice. Every single emotion that hits you is a test, not a command, not a death sentence, a test. The weak fail the test by reacting. The strong pass the test by controlling. That's the difference. And the first lie you must destroy is this idea that your feelings just happen and you have no responsibility. You are responsible. You are responsible for what you feel. You are responsible for how long it stays. You are responsible for how you respond. That's the key. Let me make it real. Someone talks to you with disrespect. Your chest tightens. Your jaw clenches. Your mind starts preparing violence, not always physical, sometimes verbal, sometimes emotional. You feel it, but you don't have to feed it. Feel it, don't feed it. That's the discipline. An emotion untreated becomes identity. An emotion repeated becomes personality. An emotion controlled becomes power. You have a choice. Right now, think about the last time you ruined your own peace. Maybe you sent a message you shouldn't have sent. Maybe you raised your voice. Maybe you argued to feel right instead of acting right. That wasn't because you're emotional. That was because you're untrained. That's the key. Nobody teaches emotional discipline. Schools don't teach it. Families rarely model it. Society praises expression, not control. People glorify being real instead of being disciplined. But real power is not expression. Real power is control, and control starts with ownership. You stop blaming, you stop excusing, you stop pointing fingers.
You say, "This is mine to manage." You have a choice. Every time you say, "They made me feel this way," you weaken yourself, because now they control you. Now they own your energy. Now they hold your mental leash. And a powerful person is never on a leash. You don't need their permission to breathe calmly. You don't need their permission to stay silent. You don't need their permission to walk away. That's the key. You must understand one hard truth. You cannot control what happens, but you can always control how you answer it. Always. The weak fight reality. The strong master response. That's the discipline. Here's the training. When emotion hits, don't move. Don't speak. Don't send the message. Don't defend. Don't explain. You pause. You breathe. You say inside your mind, "I have a choice." That's the key. You slow your body down. You relax your jaw. You drop your shoulders. You release your fists. This is not weakness. This is training. You are not suppressing emotion. You are controlling it. There's a difference. Suppression is shoving it down and letting it explode later. Control is feeling it fully and refusing to let it make decisions. That's the skill. Most people spend their lives justifying emotional behavior. I'm just stressed. I'm tired. I've been through a lot. So has everyone. That's not an excuse. That's not a pass. That's not strength. It's not about comfort. It's about discipline. That's the key. You cannot build a strong life with a weak inner world. You cannot lead others if you cannot control yourself. You cannot win long-term if you live in short-term emotional relief. You have a choice. You either train now or you suffer later. You either own your emotions or they own you. There is no third option. And ownership looks like this. You stop reacting on impulse. You stop speaking out of heat. You stop defending your ego. It's not about being fake. It's about being disciplined. That's the key. Start today. Someone says something, you pause. Something triggers you, you breathe. Your mind tells you to explode, you stay silent. You don't need their permission. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything. You have a choice. Weak people think control is repression. Strong people know control is freedom. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from regret. Freedom from self-destruction. That's discipline. And discipline starts here, with you, with this decision, right now. You will no longer say, "That's just how I feel." You will say, "This is what I feel, and I am in control." That's the key. You are not your feelings. You are the commander of them. And once you understand that, your entire life starts to change. You mastered the idea of responsibility. You stopped blaming emotions. Now you must learn where true strength is built. Not in noise, not in drama, not in reaction, but in silence.
Chapter 2. Emotional strength is built in silence, not drama. Weak people are loud, not just with their voice, with their reactions, with their explanations, with their need to be seen and heard. Strong people are quiet. They don't perform their pain. They don't advertise their stress. They don't turn their emotions into a show. That's the truth.
Silence is not weakness. Silence is skill. That's the key. You've been trained to think that emotional expression equals honesty. That's wrong. Expression without control is not honesty. It's chaos. You don't need their permission to be silent. You don't need their permission to stay calm. You don't need their permission to walk away. You have a choice. Every time you feel the urge to explain yourself, to justify, to defend, to overtalk, that is weakness trying to survive. And weakness is loud. That's the key. Look at the world. People fight on social media. People shout in arguments. People post their pain. People vent to strangers. People cry publicly for validation. And what do they get? Temporary relief, long-term weakness, lost respect. Drama feels powerful, but it makes you smaller. Silence feels uncomfortable, but it makes you stronger. You have a choice. You can be the person who reacts loudly, or you can be the person who watches, waits, listens, moves in silence. That's discipline. Silence trains your nervous system. It slows your heartbeat. It sharpens your thinking. It builds authority. Noise destroys that. That's the key. Let's make it practical. Someone challenges you. Your ego wants to fight back. Your mouth wants to answer. You stop. You hold eye contact. You breathe through your nose. You let the silence sit heavy in the air. That silence changes the power dynamic. You are not weak. You are dangerous. That's the difference. You have a choice. Weak people rush to be understood. Strong people don't need to be understood. They understand themselves. That's the key. Silence is where control lives. Think about this. A wild animal is loud. A predator is quiet. The loud one shows fear. The quiet one shows certainty. You don't need to announce your emotions. You don't need to explain your pain. You don't need to scream your stress. You need to master it. Silence is mastery. That's discipline. Now let's talk about talking. Most people talk too much when they are uncomfortable. They fill the air because silence scares them. But silence isn't scary. Silence is powerful. Because when you are silent, you are thinking, you are analyzing, you are choosing. That's the key. You have a choice. You can respond instantly, or you can respond intentionally. Instant responses are weak. Intentional responses are strong. Silence creates that gap. That gap is your power. That gap is your control. That gap is your discipline. That's the key. Here's a simple rule. If you don't need to speak, don't. If you can respond later, wait. If you can listen more, do it. That's training. That's daily discipline. It's not about being cold. It's not about being distant. It's about being controlled. You don't need their permission to be quiet. You don't need their permission to think first. You don't need their permission to hold back. You have a choice. Drama is addiction. It gives you a rush. It gives you attention. It makes you feel alive. But like all addictions, it weakens you. Silence is discipline. It doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't feel dramatic. It feels boring. And boring builds monsters. quiet monsters. Calm minds, steady hearts, unshakable presence. That's the goal. That's the key. Train this. When you're upset, go quiet. When you're insulted, go silent. When you're misunderstood, don't explain. Don't announce, don't expose, don't perform. Just breathe, just observe, just stay grounded. You have a choice. You either leak your power through noise or you store your power in silence. Strong people store power. Weak people spend it. That's the difference. Silence is not running away. Silence is control. Drama is not strength. Drama is weakness. You don't need their permission to become calm. You don't need their permission to become disciplined. You just decide. That's the key. You've learned that strength grows in silence. You've learned that drama is the enemy. Now you must learn something deeper. Silence alone isn't enough, because your real enemy is not noise. It's triggers. And until you master your triggers, they will own you.
Chapter 3. Master your triggers before they master you. You don't lose control. You get triggered. And anything that can trigger you can control you. That's the truth. That's the key. You have a choice. Most people think triggers are random. They aren't. They are patterns. And patterns can be trained, mapped, broken. That's discipline. You don't need their permission to become emotionally free. You need awareness. That's the key. A trigger is not the event. A trigger is the meaning you attach to the event. Someone ignores your message. Your mind says disrespect. Someone criticizes you. Your mind says rejection. Someone succeeds. Your mind says, I'm behind. That's not reality. That's interpretation. And interpretation is trainable. You have a choice. You can let your old programming run your life, or you can rewrite it. That's the key. Let's make it real. Your triggers usually fall into these categories: disrespect, rejection, embarrassment, comparison, betrayal. Every time one of these hits, your body floods with emotion. Heat, tension, impulse. But impulse is not power. Control is power. That's the key. Start tracking your triggers. Yes, tracking, because what you don't measure, you can't master. Write this down mentally. What makes me react fast? What makes me speak without thinking? What makes me feel small? What makes me feel furious? You don't need their permission to study yourself. You have a choice. Weak people avoid triggers. Strong people study them. That's discipline. A trigger is like a weak spot in armor. If the enemy knows it, they can attack you anytime. If you know it, you can reinforce it. That's strategy. That's control. That's the key. Let's train response over reaction. Next time someone says something that hits your pride, don't respond outwardly. Respond internally. Say, I see the trigger. I feel the trigger. I control the trigger. That's repetition. That's discipline. You have a choice. Most people live on autopilot. They let old wounds decide new behavior. They let childhood pain decide adult responses. That's weakness. You are not a child anymore. You are not helpless. You are responsible. That's the key. Your past may explain you, but it does not control you. Not anymore. Your triggers are not curses.
They are training points. That's the mindset shift. Every trigger is a chance to upgrade. Every emotional spike is a chance to grow. Every uncomfortable moment is mental weight. You either lift it or you run from it. You have a choice. Now, practical control. When triggered, don't move, don't speak, don't send the message. Instead, breathe in through the nose, hold it for 3 seconds, release slowly. You slow your body, you slow your mind, you slow your reaction. That's the key. Then rename the trigger. Instead of "they disrespected me," say "that tone activated my pride." Instead of "they rejected me," say "that situation touched my insecurity." This gives you power, because now it's not outside, it's inside. And what's inside is controllable. That's discipline. You don't need their permission to take control of your mind. You don't need the world to change. You change. That's the key. Most people never outgrow their triggers. They get older, but they don't get stronger. They still react the same, still explode the same, still crumble the same. You will not, because you are training, because you are choosing, because you understand. You have a choice. Triggers don't disappear overnight, but control grows daily. One pause at a time, one breath at a time, one silent win at a time. That's the process. That's the discipline. You don't aim to never feel. You aim to never lose control. There's a difference, and that difference is everything. That's the key. You are not broken. You are not doomed. You are not weak. You are untrained, and training fixes everything. You mastered silence. You started tracking triggers. Now you must learn something even more dangerous. You must separate yourself from your thoughts, because the voice in your head is not you. And until you control that voice, it controls you.
Chapter 4. You are not your thoughts. You are the commander of them. Your mind talks constantly, loudly, endlessly. But here's the truth. You are not the voice. You are the one who hears the voice. That's the key. You have a choice. Most people think every thought is truth. They think every fear is reality. Every doubt is destiny. Every negative voice is information. It's not. It's noise. And noise can be muted. You don't need their permission to control your own mind. You need discipline. That's the key. A thought is just a suggestion, and suggestions can be rejected. Fear says you can't. Doubt says you're not enough. Anxiety says, what if it fails? You don't obey, you observe. You have a choice. Weak people believe everything they think. Strong people challenge everything they think. That's discipline. Your thoughts are automatic. Your obedience is optional. That's the key. Right now, your brain is wired for survival, not success. It looks for danger. It looks for rejection. It looks for threat. Not because you're broken, but because you're untrained. And training changes wiring. You don't need to stop your thoughts. You need to stop obeying them. That's control. When your mind says, speak back, you say, no. When it says, prove yourself, you say, no. When it says, run, you say, no. That's the key. You have a choice. You can be the soldier, or you can be the general. Soldiers follow orders. Generals give them.
It's not about flaw, it's about discipline. That's the difference. You don't need their permission to take command. You take it. You don't suppress thoughts. You don't fight them. You outgrow them. You watch them like clouds passing. They come, they go, you stay. That's strength. Here's the training. Every time a negative thought hits, don't react, don't judge, don't shame yourself. Just say, noted. That's it. Noted. Because once you step back, you create distance. Distance creates control. Control creates strength. That's the key. Most people drown in their thoughts. You will stand above them. You will see them for what they are. Noise, conditioning, old programming. You are not your programming. You are the programmer. You have a choice. Think of this. If thoughts were facts, every fear would be real. Every doubt would be true. Every insecurity would be permanent. But they're not. They are temporary. They are trainable. They are replaceable. You don't need their permission to change your mind. You need consistency. That's discipline. Replace chaos with command. Replace weakness with awareness. Replace impulse with pause. That's the training. Your mind says, they don't respect you. You respond, I don't need their permission. That's the key. Your mind says, you're falling behind. You respond, I move at my pace. That's control. Your mind says, be loud. You respond, silence builds power. You have a choice. Most people live controlled by their mind. You will live commanding your mind. That's the difference. This doesn't happen once. It happens daily. Repetition, discipline, consistency. That's the key. You don't wait to feel strong. You act strong. You don't wait for calm. You practice calm. You don't wait for control. You build control. You have a choice. And the choice is simple. Be controlled by your thoughts or command them. No middle ground. You mastered silence. You mastered triggers. You separated yourself from the voice. Now you need to build your strongest weapon, the pause. Because the space between stimulus and reaction is power. Chapter 5. Pause is power. Reaction is weakness. Speed feels strong. Instant responses, quick comebacks, emotional bursts. They feel powerful, but they are not. Real power is slow. Real power is silent. Real power lives in the pause. That's the key. You have a choice. Most people live their life on reflex. Something happens, they react. Someone speaks, they explode. A message arrives, they reply instantly. That's weakness. Not because they feel, but because they obey. You don't need their permission to slow down. You decide. That's discipline. The pause is the space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you win. You breathe, you think, you choose. That's power. Without a pause, you are an animal. With a pause, you are a commander. That's the difference. That's the key. The world trains you to be fast. Fast replies, fast decisions, fast emotions. But speed without control is chaos. The strongest people are not fast. They are precise. You have a choice. You can be fast and foolish or slow and dangerous. That's discipline. Let's make this practical. Someone disrespects you. Your old self reacts. Your trained self pauses. You stop. You breathe through your nose. You hold it. You release slowly. That pause changes your chemistry. Your heart rate drops. Your thinking clears. Your power returns. That's the key. You don't need their permission to take your time. You don't owe anyone a reaction. Silence is not submission. Silence is control. You have a choice. The pause is not passive. It's active power. It's you saying, I decide when and how I respond. That's strength. Most people fear the pause. They think silence makes them look weak. It doesn't. It makes them unpredictable, and unpredictable is powerful. That's discipline. Train the 3-second rule. Before you speak, wait 3 seconds. Before you reply, wait 3 breaths. Before you decide, wait for clarity. That's how you build control. That's the key. You won't get it perfect. You will fail. You will react. You will slip. But every rep builds strength. Reps create control. That's the truth. Your old life was reaction. Your new life is response. Reaction is emotional. Response is intentional. That's discipline. Watch people. The loudest in the room, weakest. The calmest in the room, strongest. That's not coincidence. That's training. They don't react. They measure. They don't explode. They observe. That's the pause. That's power. You don't need their permission to be calm. You don't need their permission to think. You don't need their permission to choose. You have a choice. The pause makes you dangerous because people can't read you. They can't control you. They can't rush you. You are in control of time. That's the discipline. You don't get dragged into chaos. You stand outside it, watching, measuring, waiting. That's power. Let silence speak. Let calm breathe. Let control lead. That's the key. You mastered silence. You mastered triggers. You mastered thoughts. Now you have the pause. And once you have the pause, you must face your biggest enemy. Not other people, not stress, your ego. Because ego destroys more self-control than anything else.
Chapter 6. Your ego is your biggest emotional enemy. You are not as strong as your ego makes you feel. And you are not as weak as your ego makes you fear. That's the truth. Your ego lies to you. It whispers, prove them wrong. Don't let that slide. They need to respect you. But here's the reality. Ego has destroyed more lives than failure ever did. That's the key. You have a choice. The ego wants attention. The ego wants applause. The ego wants to win arguments. The ego wants the last word. But emotional control doesn't want any of that. It wants silence. It wants discipline. It wants mastery. That's the conflict. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. That's the difference. You don't need their permission to let things go. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to perform. You have a choice. Think of the last time you argued just to feel powerful. You didn't win. You just drained yourself. That wasn't strength. That was ego. That's the key. Ego feeds on comparison. They're beneath me. They think they're better. I deserve more. Comparison creates insecurity. Insecurity feeds ego. Ego destroys control. That's the cycle. And the strong break cycles. You have a choice. Weak people protect their ego. Strong people destroy it. That's discipline. Your ego makes you emotional. Control makes you powerful. You don't need their validation. You don't need to be seen. You don't need applause. You need authority. And authority comes from self-mastery. That's the key. Ego makes you loud. Control makes you silent. Ego wants to respond. Discipline wants to observe. Ego wants revenge. Control wants peace. That's the battle. Here's the training. When your pride feels attacked, don't defend.
Don't explain. Don't explode. Detach. Say inside your mind, this is ego talking. That awareness cuts power. That's the key. You have a choice. You can let ego run your life, or you can silence it. Ego is heavy. Discipline is light. Ego is noisy. Discipline is calm. Ego is chaos. Discipline is order. That's the difference. Look at successful people, real successful people. They don't explain themselves. They don't defend their worth. They don't chase approval. They move. They build. They stay quiet. That's control. You don't need their permission. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be understood. You need to be disciplined. That's the key. Ego makes you fragile. Criticism hurts. Feedback burns. Correction feels like attack. But discipline makes you stable. You listen. You learn. You adapt. That's strength. Your ego wants comfort. Your discipline wants growth. Comfort makes you weak. Growth makes you dangerous. You have a choice. Kill the ego, not with violence, with discipline, with silence, with humility, with control. That's the training. Next time someone criticizes you, don't defend, don't justify, don't react. Say, maybe they're right, even if they aren't, because this trains flexibility, this trains control, this trains dominance over ego. That's the key. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to win your life. Arguments feed ego. Control feeds power. That's the truth. You don't need their respect. You command it with silence. You don't need to be loud. You need to be solid. That's discipline. Your ego is the enemy, and now you see it. Now you feel it. But seeing the enemy isn't enough. You must train against it, daily, ruthlessly, consistently. That's where control becomes real. Now that you've faced your ego, you must move from understanding to action, because talking about control does nothing. Only practice builds power.
Chapter 7. Stop talking about control. Start practicing it daily. Talk is cheap. Motivation is cheap. Inspiration is cheap. Control is built by action. That's the truth. You don't become emotionally strong by understanding. You become strong by training. That's the key. You have a choice. Most people love to talk about discipline. They watch videos, they repeat quotes, they save podcasts, and nothing changes. Because knowledge without action is weakness. It's not about flaw, it's about discipline. That's the difference. You don't need their permission to train. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need motivation. You decide. That's the key. Daily practice is not glamorous. It's boring, repetitive, unseen. And that's why it works. Because weak people quit boring things. Strong people live there. That's discipline. Here's your training. Morning discipline. You wake up, no phone, no scrolling, no noise. You sit in silence. 2 minutes, just breathing. That's control training. It teaches your nervous system to obey you. That's the key. Midday discipline. Something annoys you. You don't vent. You don't gossip. You don't complain. You stay silent. That's a rep. That's strength. Night discipline. You review your day. Where did I react? Where did I control? Where did I fail? No shame, only awareness. That's discipline. You have a choice. You either train casually or you train like your future depends on it, because it does. Control is muscle. No training, it shrinks. Daily training, it grows. That's reality. Let's get physical. Hold eye contact longer. Speak slower. Breathe deeper. Your body must reflect your mind. Weak body language creates weak thoughts.
Strong posture creates strong control. That's the key. You don't need their permission to move slower. You don't need to rush. You don't need to explain. You have a choice. Here's another drill. Talk slower than you want to. Move slower than you want to. Respond slower than you want to. This builds internal friction. Friction builds strength. That's discipline. Your emotions don't change overnight. They change through reps, daily reps, unseen reps, silent reps. That's where monsters are built. Quiet monsters, calm minds, unbreakable focus. That's the goal. You must treat control like physical training. If you miss a day, you feel weaker. If you stay consistent, you feel dangerous. That's the truth. No excuses. Not tired, not stressed, not busy. You don't negotiate with weakness. You dominate it. That's the key. The world won't celebrate this. No one will clap. No one will notice. And that's good. Because you're not training for applause. You're training for power. You have a choice. You can look disciplined, or you can be disciplined. Looking disciplined is ego. Being disciplined is power. That's the difference. Repetition builds identity. You do it long enough, you become it. You're not trying to control. You are controlled. That's the goal. You don't wait to feel calm. You live calm. You don't chase control. You embody control. That's the shift. Now, you're not just talking, you're training. But training alone isn't enough, because sooner or later, life will pressure you, and pressure exposes everything. So now, you must learn this. Calm is not a personality. Calm is a weapon.
Chapter 8. Calm is a weapon, not a personality trait. Calm people are not lucky. They are trained. They are not born peaceful. They are built. Under pressure, under stress, under chaos. That's the truth. Calm is not soft. Calm is not weak. Calm is lethal. That's the key. You have a choice. Most people think calm is something you have. It's not. Calm is something you deploy, like a weapon. That's discipline. In chaos, people panic, they rush, they overthink, they collapse. The calm person takes control, not by shouting, not by forcing, by presence. That's power. That's the key. You don't need their permission to stay calm. You don't need perfect conditions. You just decide. That's control. Calm slows your heart, sharpens your mind, steadies your hands. This is not spirituality. This is biology. Training your nervous system. That's the discipline. You train calm in chaos, not in comfort. Comfort builds nothing. Pressure builds everything. You have a choice. You can avoid pressure, or you can seek it. That's growth. Let's make it real. Deadline approaching, people panicking, voices rising. You? Slow, silent, focused. That calm scares people because they know you are in control. That's power. Pressure test your calm. Cold showers, breath control, stillness under stress. Train your body to stay steady. That's the key. Your nervous system must obey you, not the other way around. That's discipline. When things go wrong, you don't run, you don't shout, you don't break. You breathe, you analyze, you act. That's the weapon. Calm makes your moves precise. Calm makes your words heavy. Calm makes your presence felt. That's the truth. You have a choice. You can be reactive, or you can be controlled. Controlled people win. Always. People trust calm. People follow calm.
People fear calm because calm is dangerous. You don't need their permission. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify. Silence plus calm equals dominance. That's the rule. You don't waste energy. You don't chase validation. You don't leak power. You hold it. That's discipline. Calm under pressure is the mark of leadership. Not talent, not intelligence, control. That's the currency. Train to stay calm when you're criticized, you're ignored, you're challenged, you're tested. Every time you stay calm, you win. Even if no one sees, you see, and that's enough. Calm is not your nature. Calm is your weapon. Use it. Sharpen it. Own it. You don't need their permission. You have a choice. Most people crumble when stressed. You will be built by it. That's the promise. That's control. Now that you've built your calm, you must understand the bigger picture. This isn't just about peace. This is about power. Because emotional discipline separates winners from the rest.
Chapter 9. Emotional discipline separates winners from the rest. You want to know the real difference between winners and everyone else? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's emotional discipline. That's the truth. You have a choice. Most people react. Most people complain. Most people fold under pressure. Winners do not. Winners pause. Winners breathe. Winners control. That's the key. Emotional discipline is the foundation of every achievement. Without it, skill fails. Without it, effort fails. Without it, persistence fails. That's reality. You don't need their permission to master your emotions. You need practice. That's the key. Let's break it down. Winners know that anger destroys focus. Fear destroys clarity. Impulse destroys progress. So they build control. They train patience. They embrace calm. That's discipline. Emotional discipline isn't a choice in success. It's a requirement. You have a choice. You can react and feel powerful for a moment, or you can dominate for a lifetime. That's the difference. Think of this. Someone disrespects you. The weak explode. The mediocre fume silently. The winner pauses, analyzes, acts strategically. That's emotional discipline. That's power. Most people chase recognition. Winners chase control. Most people seek applause. Winners seek mastery. That's the key. Control allows you to see clearly. Without control, vision is blurred. Without control, decisions are weak. Without control, success slips. You have a choice. Every loss, every failure, every setback is a test. Will you react like the crowd, or will you respond like a champion? That's discipline. Here's the practical drill. Step 1. Identify the emotional spike. Step 2. Pause, breathe, observe. Step 3. Decide the response. Step 4. Act with intention, not impulse. Repeat daily. Repeat consistently. That's how winners are built. Not through talent, not through charm, through repetition, through control, through ownership of your emotional world. You have a choice. Weak people complain. Strong people adapt. Winners dominate. That's the hierarchy. Control over your emotions is control over your life. Chaos lives outside. Control lives inside. The world will not hand you calm. The world will not hand you focus. The world will not hand you composure. You must take it. That's the key. Most people live in reactive mode. Winners live in proactive mode. Reactive is exhausting. Proactive is empowering. Discipline makes the difference. You can fake competence. You can fake confidence. You cannot fake emotional discipline. That's visible. It's felt.
it's respected. The strongest leaders, the sharpest minds, the unbreakable people, all mastered emotional discipline first. Control comes before action. Action without control is wasted energy. That's the truth. You have a choice. You either let your emotions rule you, or you rule your emotions. No middle ground. Every day you practice control, you step closer to winning. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you grow stronger. Every time you choose discipline over drama, you dominate life. That's the key. Now you understand why winners are rare. Because discipline is rare. Because calm under pressure is rare. Because emotional mastery is rare. And you can be rare. You have a choice. Most people never train their mind. They never control impulses. They never master emotion. They fail again and again and again. You will not. You train daily. You pause. You breathe. You dominate. That's discipline. You mastered silence. You mastered triggers. You mastered thoughts. You mastered the pause. You mastered ego. You mastered calm. Now you must consolidate all of it into real-life execution, because discipline without action is useless.
Chapter 10. Execution is the final test of emotional mastery. All the silence, all the pauses, all the calm, all the awareness, all the discipline means nothing if you do not act. That's the truth. You have a choice. You can train your mind. You can master your emotions. You can perfect calm. But until you execute, none of it matters. That's the key. Execution is where theory dies. Execution is where action speaks. Execution is where winners separate from talkers. Weak people plan endlessly. Strong people act immediately. Winners, they act with control. That's discipline. Think about it. Every person who complains about life, they have knowledge, they have motivation, they have advice, but they never execute. They react too fast, too slow, or not at all. They let emotions decide. They let ego dictate. You will not. You have a choice. Execution requires courage. Execution requires patience. Execution requires control. It is the test of everything you've trained for. All your silence trains your focus. All your pause trains your judgment. All your calm trains your resilience. All your emotional discipline trains your power. Execution is the proof. Here's how you do it. Decide quickly, act deliberately. Don't overthink. Don't underprepare. Control your mind, then move. Act under pressure. The moment will never feel perfect. Chaos is inevitable. Calm must be ready. Observe and adjust in real time. Execution is not blind. It's not rigid. It's controlled, responsive, precise. That's the key. Most people fail because they panic mid-execution. They react, they explode, they lose control. You don't. You move. You breathe. You adjust. You dominate. Execution is not about speed. It's about correctness. It's about consistency. It's about emotional mastery applied. Weak people stop after one attempt. Strong people adjust and continue. Winners refine and conquer. That's the difference. Every action tests your training. Did you pause before speaking? Did you remain calm under pressure? Did you act without letting ego control you? Did you execute with precision and awareness? If yes, you win. If no, you learn. No shame, only repetition. That's discipline. You have a choice.
You can admire your mental strength from the sidelines, or you can deploy it every single day. Execution is the battlefield. Emotional mastery is your weapon. Control is your armor. Without action, armor is useless. Without action, weapons rust. Without action, mastery is theory. That's the key. You've trained in silence. You've mastered triggers. You've separated from thoughts. You've implemented the pause. You've silenced ego. You've embodied calm. You've cultivated discipline. Now it's time. Time to act. Daily, relentlessly, consistently. The world doesn't wait. Life doesn't wait. Opportunities vanish. People move on. You have a choice. You execute, or you remain ordinary. Execution is uncomfortable. It's risky. It's messy. And that's why winners do it. That's why winners dominate. That's why winners separate themselves from the rest. That's the key. Every single time you act with control, your power grows. Every single time you choose discipline over impulse, your authority expands. Every single time you apply calm under pressure, your influence multiplies. That's the truth. Weak people let fear control them. Strong people let control guide them. Winners let mastery dictate their moves. You have a choice. You can live reacting. You can live training. Or you can live executing. Execution is the final test. And now you've passed the first test, awareness. You've passed the second, control. You've passed the third, discipline. Now it's time to prove it in the real world. Act with precision. Act with courage. Act with calm. Act with mastery. No excuses. No hesitation. No delay. That's the key. Execution separates the dreamers from the doers, the thinkers from the builders, the weak from the powerful. Your emotions do not own you. Your ego does not control you. Your past does not define you. You define you. That's the truth. Now take everything you've learned. Apply it today. Apply it tomorrow. Apply it relentlessly. Because control without execution is wasted potential. Knowledge without action is meaningless. Discipline without practice is weakness. You have a choice. Choose execution. Choose mastery. Choose domination of your mind, body, and emotions. The final test of emotional mastery is not theory. It's action. It's relentless, precise, disciplined action. Do it now. No waiting, no excuses, no second chances. You've been trained. You've been disciplined. You've been prepared. Now, act. The world will either bend to your control or you will remain like everyone else. That's the key. Execution is everything. Action is power. Discipline is unstoppable. You are ready. Now prove it.
You've learned the truth. Emotional control is a skill. You've mastered silence. You've mapped your triggers. You've separated from your thoughts. You've paused before reaction. You've silenced your ego. You've trained discipline daily. You've embodied calm. You've understood that emotional mastery separates winners from the rest. And now you know execution is the final test. All the knowledge, all the awareness, all the calm means nothing without action. This is your life, your choices, your power. Stop reacting, start responding. Stop talking, start practicing. Stop waiting, start executing. No excuses, no hesitation, no approval needed. The world will challenge you. Chaos will try to break you. People will doubt you. You have a choice. You can remain ordinary, or you can step into mastery.
Control your mind, command your emotions, act with precision, win in silence, dominate your life. Today is the day. This moment is yours. No one else will do it for you. Now go, act, control, execute, and prove to yourself emotional mastery is not a dream. It's your life.
If this audiobook added value to your life, then don't leave empty-handed. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful self-mastery content. Like the video to support the work and share it with someone who needs this message today. Your growth begins here, and you are not done yet. Subscribe, like, and share.